The corruption in the Ukraine was basically an open secret. They knew it, we knew it, but despite all that, billions of taxpayer dollars were sent to the Ukraine. But in a very surprise scandal, multiple top officials have now resigned. This makes you wonder if our taxpayer money was used properly or if billions of dollars were just taken by corrupt officials. Do you guys think that this is the case? Comment a quick yes or no in the comments. Russia has now positioned one of their warships close to the United States, and it seems as if we may need to prepare for a huge collision if things don't go well. And a newly elected congressman has revealed that he was almost assassinated. Now, before I continue, please take a second, smash the like button. I really appreciate that. Facts are being censored and my videos are not exempt. If you guys really want to stay connected and get your daily dose of the truth when it comes to Washington, D.C., the state of our economy, the stock market, the housing market, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, SNAP, and EBT, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure your notification bell is turned on. Also, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. The link is in the description down below. Only takes like 15 seconds. Now, one of the first FBI officials who was part of this entire Russiagate scandal has now been arrested over a connection to an overseas oligarch. What country? Take one wild guess. That's right, guys, Russia. Charles McGonigal, a former FBI agent in charge of counterintelligence, was arrested recently for trying to remove a Russian billionaire off of our sanctions list.
Former top FBI agent arrested over his ties to a Russian oligarch. Charles McGonigal is one of the highest-ranking FBI officials to ever be charged with the crime. Aaron Katursky has the details. Good morning, Aaron.
George, good morning. In fact, when Charles McGonigal worked here at the FBI's New York field office, he was the top counterintelligence official in charge of hunting spies. So federal prosecutors said he should have known better than to take money from a sanctioned Russian oligarch closely tied to Vladimir Putin. McGonigal is facing charges. He took concealed payments from Oleg Deripaska, an aluminum magnate sanctioned by the United States for enabling Putin's actions in Ukraine. He's also mentioned in the Mueller report because of an association with former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort. The indictment said McGonigal was paid to investigate a rival Russian billionaire and to get Deripaska off the sanctions list. McGonigal pleaded not guilty, but he's facing additional charges in Washington, D.C. that accuse him of taking $250,000 from another foreign intelligence agent while McGonigal was still working for the FBI. And George, in exchange for that payment, federal prosecutors say he opened a criminal investigation on a U.S. citizen.
His lawyer said this, quote, Charlie has had a long, distinguished career with the FBI. He served the United States for decades. This is obviously a distressing day for Mr. McGonigal and for his family, but we'll review the evidence, we'll closely scrutinize it, and we have a lot of confidence in Mr. McGonigal, end quote. Wow, corruption within one of our three-letter agencies? How shocking. I hope you guys can see the sarcasm in this statement. Now, since we're already on the topic of corruption, several top officials, which includes 5 frontline governors in Ukraine, were forced to resign recently due to a corruption scandal in their government.
High level of corruption charges have hit senior officials. The deputy head of Ukraine's presidential office has quit after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky promised a complete cleanup. The departure of senior officials includes the resignation of the deputy prosecutor general, a deputy head of the president's office, and a deputy defense minister.
When you're being sent billions of taxpayer dollars and continue to go on different avenues to ask for more and more money and then suddenly face corruption issues, that's not a good look. Correction, this is a terrible look for you and your country and your government. To think that these officials even has an issue that's linked to the purchase of food for their armed forces, I can't even begin to fathom how deep this rabbit hole goes. The White House, though, was happy with the actions of their president. According to the statement from our National Security Council, quote, we welcome the quick action that President Zelensky is taking on this case, as well as the effective action of Ukraine's anti-corruption institutions, civil society, and media to ensure effective monitoring and accountability of public procurement and to hold those in positions of public trust to account. End quote. Accountability? Sounds like a bad word for government officials. It's also apt for this new update as President Biden continues to say that his classified information dilemma is completely different from the one that former President Trump is facing. He continues to act like his situation is much better compared to Trump's because he confronted the media with it. But let's do the timeline here. The documents were found, November 2nd? And it took more than 2 months before they were informed. Doesn't that show us that they were trying to keep this under wraps and hidden from the American public? And that the White House wouldn't have said this otherwise if they weren't informed that the Department of Justice was about to leak this information? And they're still finding more documents to this day. This time around at former Vice President Mike Pence's Indiana home. What is it with these high-ranking officials in this country taking home classified classified documents like it's the health crisis all over again. Were they all working from home? Pence also said that he wasn't aware that classified papers were left in his home or what was in these documents. Now, at this point, he should probably check out what else is missing from the National Archives, or at least confirm to the American public that they do have a system for the checking in and checking out of sensitive materials that could ultimately affect our national security. Former President Trump was quick to defend his VP by saying that, quote, Mike Pence is an innocent man. He never did anything knowingly dishonest in his life. Leave him alone, end quote. Now that reminds me, why haven't we heard anything from former President Barack Obama? He's had all the opportunities in the world to say something, anything, maybe even declare that he declassified the documents that Biden has in his home, office, and garage. To date, we've heard nothing, not a peep from his camp, not one interview or press conference. Now, I think that silence alone should be worrying for President Biden as he contemplates his plans for 2024. You know what else is worrying? Vladimir Putin has just sent out a Russian warship that's equipped with hypersonic missiles toward the United States coast in what seems to be a show of force. These missiles have been dubbed as unstoppable as they fly at 9 times the speed of sound. Pentagon is aware of the ship's movement and is monitoring it as we speak. Now, speaking of monitoring, Americans are also looking at the prices of gas at the gas pump, which is why it's troubling to see this happen at the White House.
As many of you are tracking, this week House Republicans will vote to raise gas prices on American families. The contrast in priorities could not be more stark. The president spent the last 2 years, as you know, doing everything he could to lower gas prices for American families, and prices are down about $1.60 a gallon since last summer. Now, House Republicans are using their narrow majority to force the American people to pay higher gas prices, just as big oil companies are amassing record profits.
Jean-Pierre has been painfully fact-checking, and this could just be the White House getting ahead of the news that gas prices are about to go higher, so they're deferring the blame now rather than later. I guess when the time comes, they can just tell us that they told us so, right? Do you guys think that this is the case? I'm curious to see what the majority of Americans think about this one. Now, if we're talking about raising the debt ceiling, I don't have to guess, as a recent poll has shown that more Americans are not in favor of doing this. The response was so extreme that more than half of the country would rather see a partial government shutdown until Congress can agree to cut spending or keep it the same. Now, here's an idea. Why don't they just work within the money that they actually have available? You know, the tax income that they're taking from us already. I mean, Americans are all working hard within our cash flow. We can't just raise our own personal debt limits. Sure, we have credit cards, but we know that we can't borrow money forever. The same can't be said for the government. And while households continue to fear delinquencies on their credit cards, car repossessions, layoffs, housing, the actual possibility of bankruptcy, the government just continues to have a stalemate regarding their spending. I know that this is all too much, but it is nothing compared to what Representative George Santos has endured. According to him, he suffered an attempt on his life and was even mugged in New York back in the summer of 2021. Journalists have tried to get more comments from him and this attempted murder, but they have not heard back from him. He truly puts the con on congressmen. It's going to be hard for Santos to have any semblance of trust in Congress, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can actually keep his seat for very long. You know what is running long? This entire inflation transition where the price of everything is horribly high. That's why I always try to talk about the importance of budgeting, improving our cash flow. And if you're one of the many people who want to make a change in their lives, be it through side hustles, starting small businesses, investing in real estate, maybe even the stock market, feel free to join us over in the Patreon community. There's a link in the description down below. I'm always willing to guide you guys onto the path. But before I go, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up for the video. Totally appreciate that, and subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching. You guys are all awesome. I wish you better days and better health ahead. I'll see you in the next one. Be safe.